Hey everyone, Emma here, also known as 8vinyllow, bringing you all another video. Yes, I'm jumping on the bandwagon. Here is my response to the trend that has completely taken over the VC over the last week and a half. 10 albums in my collection that you probably do not have. And if by chance you have these albums in your collection, let me know, because you have amazing taste and are awesome, and I want to know you. So we are going to kick right off and start with a literal bang, literally. Misfits, Bullet, 7-inch, 45 RPM. No, right off the bat, I'm going to say this is not an original from 1978. If it was, that would be amazing, because it'd be worth like $2,000-$3,000. This is an unofficial, and even the unofficials are hard to come by now. I don't know when this was released unofficially. There's a few unofficials out there, bootlegs floating around, but I got this for a very reasonable price a couple of years ago, and it's just a really cool addition in the collection. Of course, the song Bullet by the Misfits, kind of referencing the JFK assassination from 1963. Really interesting song to listen to. But like I said, unofficial, comes in this packaging. Here's the back. I think the original didn't have this photo on the back, if I am not mistaken. Then it just opens up and you get the record in here, the 45. It's just plain with a white label. Doesn't say much, doesn't say anything, but just really, really cool addition to the collection. Like I said, if you find an original of this, you're going to be paying $2,000-$3,000. They are hard to come by. I think that there were only like 1,000 or so released, so definitely hard to come by, but you probably don't have this, even the unofficial. But if you do, let me know. Next album that you probably don't have, I would say that none of you have this. This is the Strapping Owls Livewire Soul, live from Michigan. The Strapping Owls are a trio, a tuba-based almost trio. They have a tuba or a sousaphone. A sousaphone is played on this particular release. You have the guitarist who also does vocals. His name is Nick. He has the most creamy, deep, amazing, soulful, bluesy voice that I've heard in a long time in terms of modern music. And then you have the drummer. Really, really unique band. I saw the vocalist of this band and the guitarist. Like I said, I think his name is Nick Barron. He opened for Cheap Trick in 2019 at the Genesee Theater in Waukegan, and he was selling these, and of course I had to pick it up because I was blown away by the performance. So, Livewire Soul, live album, I think their first and only album release from 2009, but very, very good. If you like blues, funk, jazz, soul, improv, jams type music, and really just good and unique sounding, you'd really dig this album. I'm sure it's still out there floating around, but my best guess is you probably do not own this. And the only reason I do is because I saw this guy open for Cheap Trick a couple years ago. So there's that. Next album, and if you own this album, I'm going to guess that you saw it in my video. And if you didn't and you got this on your own, then like I said, let me know because I want to be your friend. The Underdog Blues Band self-titled release. This is, of course, a reissue from their album from originally 1968. This album came out. They are a blues rock band out of New Zealand. This reissue is limited to only 500 copies. I think it came out on like Wawa Records or something bizarre, but only limited to 500. But the reason why I knew about this band and wanted to pick up this album is because this band was heavily influenced by John Mayall and the Blues Breaker. Actually, a handful of songs that are covered on this album were also covered on various Blues Breaker releases. So just a great 60s blues rock band. And again, perfect to have in my collection. So Underdog Blues Band from New Zealand, 1968. This is reissue. But let me know if you have this. Really, really great release. Another album that you probably don't have, you may have Vehicle, and you can see Vehicle by the Ides of March hanging up there, signed by all the members. I'm not going to go into my Ides of March story. I've shared it hundreds of times on my channel, but it is a band near and dear to my heart, the band that got me into music. And this is a fantastic compilation put out by Sundays. It's mono. I've shared this a handful of times on my channel, but I'm still going to guess that a lot of you do not have this. And that is this, the Ides of March Ideology, again, put out by Sundays compilation in like the early 2000s. Very, very good. Highlighting the band, you know, you got the 4 original guys there, Jim Peterick, who went on to Survivor and 38 Special and so on fame. You have Bob Berglund on bass, you have Larry Millis on guitar, and Mike Borch on drums. They're still touring together today, the 4 original guys, you cannot beat it. But this showcases before Vehicle fame, okay? This is from 1965 to 68. Showcases songs like You Wouldn't Listen, which was a huge early Ides of March hit, Roller Coaster, Superman, or I don't know if Superman's on this, but you got Roller Coaster on there, and then it even has a couple of songs from when they were before the Ides of March called the Shondells. And that's a really cool story too, because they had to change their name from the Shondells because of Tommy James and the Shondells, so that's how they ended up changing it to the Ides of March. But anyway, my best guess, you have Vehicle, but you don't have this compilation, which you really should get because it is fantastic. Another Chicago-based music scene, 60s garage rock band compilation that you probably do not have is from this band called the Lemon Drops. This is a compilation called Sun Shower Flower Power. You guys know how I feel about my Chicago music scene, especially 60s garage rock stuff, which I also want to mention real quickly, just thought of this. R.I.P. rest in peace to Jimmy Sons from Shadows of Night. He has recently passed. He actually passed a couple days ago, and known for, you know, that cover of Them, Gloria, Gloria. Oh Yeah, Got My Mojo Working, Lightbulb Blues. So R.I.P. to Jimmy Sons while we're talking about Chicago music scene. But the Lemon Drops, psych pop band from Chicago, really underrated, fantastic compilation if you like that experimental psychedelic pop sound coming out of the 60s. I think you'd really dig this stuff, so check it out. But you probably do not have this. This is a thrift store find, something that I saw, it looked interesting, so I bought it, and over the years, I've really come to love it. This is John Buck Wilkin. Now, some of you may have this, but most of you won't. John Buck Wilkin, In Search of Food, Clothing, Shelter, and Sex, originally released in 1970. It's kind of like an Americana folk rock country release. You may not have heard of the name John Buck Wilkin, but you may have heard of Ronnie and, Ronnie from Ronnie and the Daytonas, that surf pop band from the 1960s. John is Ronnie. So this is his debut release. I can't remember if he released more after this, but just a really great folk rock album, experimental, coming out of 1970. So really, really good, worth checking out, and you could probably find this fairly cheap. Like I said, this was a thrift store find, and I was just blown away. Really, really cool stuff. All right, next album from 2018. This is Laura Jane Grace and the Devouring Mothers, their album Born to Rot. Now, Laura Jane Grace from Against Me, Adam from Against Me as well. He also played for Social Distortion and so on. Really, really great trio. This is a side project for Laura. I really wish that they would put out more from Devouring Mothers, but this is the tour exclusive blue vinyl, so you probably don't have this to begin with. You would have had to go see this tour to get this, but it's this tour exclusive blue. And then if you could see, right, from that cover, it is signed by all 3. So I did go see this tour, and that is where I got all 3 of these signed. So very cool to have in the collection, and actually a fantastic album from that band. Another album you probably don't have. Now we're getting into Cheap Trick territory. Okay, so the next 3 that I'm going to showcase are Cheap Trick related. This is Miles Nielsen and the Rusted Hearts. Miles Nielsen presents the Rusted Hearts. This is the first time that this band was featured when they were called the Rusted Hearts. Miles, this is his sophomore album. His debut album was just his name. It wasn't the Rusted Hearts. Miles, of course, Rick Nielsen's son. So Rick Nielsen of Cheap Trick, this is his son. He's been in this band now for years. Really, really solid band, and even better live. Great guys, great musicians, great bands, but this is a fantastic album from this band released in 2011. This is hard to come by, but if you ever find it out in the wild, pick it up. I promise you, really, really good stuff. It's kind of that Americana with aspects of, almost power pop in there. Very, very good. Songs that I recommend on here, at least checking out if you want to kind of get this sound, is Cold War, The Grain, which is a huge Miles Nielsen, the Rusted Hearts song, and Dear Kentucky, You're Killing Me, all fantastic. This whole album is amazing. Like I said, if you ever come across this, pick it up. Miles Nielsen, son of Rick Nielsen, but a fantastic musician in his own right, and a great, great band who put on some of the best live performances that I've seen, and I've seen a lot of concerts. All right, next album that you probably don't have, another unofficial release. This is the Nas Retrospective Foresight, rare tracks and studio outtakes. So it has two kind of sides to this. It has recordings from demos and outtakes from songs that appeared on Nas 3. But then it also features songs from a band that only billed themselves as the Nas in certain parts of the country where they toured, but a band called Sick Man of Europe. And if you know your Cheap Trick history, you know that Rick Nielsen and Tom Peterson were in this band, Sick Man of Europe. Also included Tom Mooney from Nas and Stookie from Nas. So Sick Man of Europe, demos and outtakes on here, really, really weird. I don't know how this whole thing came to be, but different demos from Sick Man of Europe, who only billed themselves as the Nas in certain, I think like Pennsylvania and places like that, ended up on a Nas bootleg. So Rick Nielsen and Tom Peterson play on this. This is why I own this. But what's really cool is if you know the song from In Color 1977 Cheap Trick album, So Good to See You, there is a demo on here called Ready I Am from Sick Man of Europe, and that's So Good to See You. So weird. I don't know the whole story behind this, but it's a Cheap Trick connection, so I needed it. The last thing in my collection that I'm going to guess you do not have, and probably will not have, is one of my favorite pieces in my entire collection. I love this thing so much. This would be the one thing that I grab in a fire. This is a 1977 Japanese promo with Oh Boy on it. Cheap Trick Japanese promo, 7-inch, 45 RPM picture disc in a guitar pick. Nothing screams at me more than this. Obviously the packaging is a little rough, but look at that. It's a guitar pick. It plays, it has Oh Boy on it, but so cool. I don't know anything else about this thing besides the fact that it is a 1977 Japanese promo piece. I know nothing else, but definitely one of the coolest pieces in my collection, and a piece that I love so much, and something you definitely do not have. But with that, everybody, that is my response to the 10 albums in my collection that you probably do not have. If you have any of these, let me know, because like I said, you're awesome, you have great taste. That's all for this video. I will see you guys for my next video. Bye, guys.